What's good, YouTube? I have a feeling I have to clarify something for myself as well as for you following me and watching my content. I have made observations recently and I shared these observations and the insights connected to them with you. And I did this by, as always, using Nietzsche's philosophy as a basis and then look at the psyche of the human being and all our worlds that we create. So I observed where we're coming from, and this is, as Nietzsche observed, we have a past where there was always a hierarchy, and Nietzsche created his uh, master and slave morality, as well as the concept of the will to power, and that both morality and language and consciousness and all the things that make human beings human are based or influenced around these topics. But I looked back in time even further and extended this view to the relationship of predator and prey. So imagine this: a tiger can imitate the voices of its prey. A tiger also can send out a roar that is in infrasonic, so we can't hear it, but we feel it, and it makes us freeze. It makes the prey freeze. Freeze is a trauma response too, and we also have a deeply hardwired instinct that when we're in the scope of a predator, our hair in this area is agitated. So it's an instinct, a primal instinct that human beings still have. So imagine the tiger could get our attention by mimicking something that we find interesting, and we look, what is this? And then suddenly the tiger is there, sends out this roar, and we freeze, and then the tiger can use this split second to get its prey. So you see where I'm coming from. I try to understand the human nature and what we are against. And it shows that empathy comes from the dynamic of predator and prey. And intelligence is stimulated through this. And also consciousness. All these things that make us human are strongly and essentially influenced by the dynamics of predator and prey, master and slave. And let me think. What we have as human beings, to go against that is not that we are able to face the tiger with bare hands and our physical prowess. It's not possible. This is what I also, where I stumbled across the shadow of the species, because the human being might be aware that it is not that apex predator, the tiger in this case, and being ashamed about it. But then what we have is intelligence and fantasy, is something that the tiger does not have to the degree that we have it. So what we use to face this threat, the superior predator, is intelligence and fantasy. And fantasy can also be used to align with other spirits, or, like imagine a warrior that tries to connect himself to an imaginated spirit that enables him to be able to face this tiger. So it's creativity, it's fantasy, it's a form of self-delusion, yes. Um, and but we also have strategic intelligence and ways to find solutions also for the tiger. Whether these are mental tricks or whatever we do to, the human being has always found solutions to deal with this using intelligence and fantasy. Um, yeah, and this is what this is many topics. It involves empathy, consciousness, language, morality, behavioral patterns, and also how these narrations around these have been shifted and changed and been warped and stuff like this. We will talk about this in the future. And yeah, we also have to talk about the concept of self-preservation, which is the most sacred and essential part of life. Yet, yeah, it opens up a huge scope of what I want to talk about in the future, because Nietzsche also talks about overcoming self-preservation by sacrificing and working beyond oneself. Um, and if you don't do this, you avoid life by preserving yourself for eternity. But our time is limited. So, in other words, to preserve oneself forever, um, ironically, is a form of self destruction, but to overcome self preservation for vanity or for the wrong goal is also a waste of one's own life force. Therefore, it's a difficult question. What to overcome oneself's self-preservation drive for, to do this leap of faith, to take this risk to say yes to life. This is what Nietzsche's philosophy is about, and I have also observed something that I want to share with you about this. Considering my conception of what evil is, and yes, we could say everything is just a construction. Everything we talk about is a construction. Yes, it's concepts. Words create concepts and are not an immediate picture of reality. Absolutely not. Um, Even the word reality is just a concept. So, um, yeah, but I have observed, and this is my personal experience and observation, it's not the truth, that evil, in my opinion, is always disguised and camouflaged, and this is the nature of it. But it is hijacking the most underlying and most sacred and most immediate sources of life, which are or is life drive itself and the self-preservation drive. And it does this in ways, in very wicked ways. Um, and I draw this comparison to cancer in biology, right? Where something preserves itself and refuses to die and change and accept its place in the organism. it refuses to do this and then starts growing blindly and endlessly. And this is self-preservation gone haywire. And this is death drive. This is life drive reversed, but disguised as self-preservation. So to speak, cancer is toxic self-preservation. And I have also observed exactly the same evil that I was speaking about right now, disguising itself as wanting to give up oneself. So it's an energy that pretends to give up on itself, playing victimhood mentality, identity, but then suddenly, recklessly, um, selfishly showing the true face of cancer like self-preservation. So it's a very ambiguous, changing, fake imagery of a mixture of completely giving up on itself, but then like cancer holding on to its own self-preservation in a way that kills everything around it. Right? So heavy topics, but we will uncover this and study this, but not forever, because if you study evil, evil studies you as well. But I need to get this into my scope and my view so I can make better decisions in the future and see through it, for this is the challenge of man, of warrior, and of the hunter. We need to see evil, we need to see the predator, and we need to be prepared and overcome it with intelligence and fantasy.